and I apologize for running a little bit late. We just, Apple Maps had us on Siri, and we were like way the hell on the other side of town. So anyway, any of you that are tweeting that, just please tell Apple that was a joke. We really didn't get, we love them too. They're good competitors. So they're here in Austin, so we want to, don't. It's like telling an Aggie joke. If you're a UT guy, I don't take offense either. So, but anyway, happy birthday, Google. It's Bridget. We're here to celebrate this 14th birthday as much as anything today, and thank you for allowing me to come and to participate. Pleasure to be with you to talk about Texas. I am not bashful about talking about this state, and we were just outside a little earlier talking about what has gone on in this state over the last decade, in particular, in Austin in particular. Knox, we were talking about the F1 race that's coming up here in November. I hope all of you, hope you got your tickets already, or harder yet, a place to stay. So I'm full up, so please don't be knocking on my door. And but it's just a really fascinating city inside of a state that is doing some really extraordinary things from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And I happen to think that occurs because freedom has been a value, if you will, a principle, an ideal that for years, well, I'm pretty sure since the beginning of time, has drawn people towards it. I mean, this country was based on people who wanted to get away from an oppressive situation, and it's still true today. And freedom also is what breeds innovation. Freedom from over-taxation, freedom from over-regulation, freedom from over-litigation allows for the building of an environment where men and women like you know that you can come, you can keep more of what you work for, and in turn, you're able to innovate, to create the next big thing, if you will. We were just talking about earlier, about 3 years ago, the first tweet that I remember my first tweet, kind of like my first date. I remember the first date, I remember the first tweet, and you showed me how to do that. No, it was good. It was, trust me, it was good. I tweeted about a little girl who had a disease called Batten disease. And it's just how the world is so, and from my position, most interestingly and excitingly, changes on almost a daily basis, and how it makes our lives easier, it makes our lives more interesting. And we have really worked to make this state an epicenter of that innovation by creating the environment. I don't get confused that government creates any jobs, or government is the reason all this happened. Now, government can get in the way, but government can also remove hurdles, and that's what we've tried to do from the standpoint of allowing this pro-business environment, if you will, so that innovators can come to Austin, Texas, for instance, and flourish. They can launch new companies. Ray, I was wherever, there you are. We were talking back over there earlier. Here's a young man who came out of Dallas, came to Austin, Texas. Get this, dropped out of college to start a company. I said, what are you trying to follow Michael Dell's? I'm not promoting dropping out of college. I'm talking about that creating the environment where you can be a young entrepreneur. You can know that you can take a chance here and create a new company. You think about the history of this state, whether it was the development of the integrated circuit up in Texas Instruments, where there's been life-saving technologies that are being developed in Houston at the Texas Medical Center, or whether it's the private sector space industry. that is being developed here in the state of Texas. This has been a place where technology, the technology of the day, if you will, and some good old common sense get merged together, and we create something new. And you know, while that's true historically, over the last decade, we've really seen an acceleration of that, if you will, in Texas. And entrepreneurs are moving here. We recruit those entrepreneurs. We recruit researchers. Over the course of the years, we've traveled around the world to make the pitch. I think it was some 4.5 years ago. We were in Stockholm, Sweden, at the Karolinska Institute, talking to cancer researchers there about relocating to the state of Texas because we had either just passed or were in the process of passing a $3 billion bond proposition to make Texas the epicenter to find the cures for cancer. And today we're seeing the reality of that as this CPRIT draws these entrepreneurs into the state of Texas, and we're seeing cutting-edge technologies. I think it was just last year, Bridget, that we were able to lure the head of the Farber Cancer Institute away from Harvard to Houston, to MD Anderson, to run that facility there. I mean, just extraordinary individuals, world leaders in cancer research that's coming into the state of Texas. So, you know, and I break it down to 3 pretty simple things. I mean, this environment that's been created in the state was because we've not allowed our taxes to become too high. You get to keep more of what you work for. The regulatory climate is fair and predictable. I can't tell you how important it is for the predictability in the regulatory climate. And obviously, we've reformed our legal system where there's not a fear of oversuing. So that's the model. I mean, it truly is that simple. Government needs to get out of the way after that and let you all do what you do very well. And I think we've been able to find that good balance between government's protection of whether it's the environment or our people's safety and what have you, with allowing you to innovate. And there's a world-class workforce that's being developed here too. I mean, all of these companies, I mean, Google and Facebook and Apple and Caterpillar and Toyota, I mean, and those are companies that really have high-tech, either manufacturing or high-tech intellectual properties that they don't come unless that skilled workforce is in place. One of the reasons Austin, Texas is such a desirable place to come to live is because, well, you know, it's not just the really nice weather we have in August. It's because this is a truly an international city. I mean, South by Southwest, I share with people, I think South by Southwest was one of the reasons that Formula One chose Austin. I have no definitive proof of that, but I think about over the 20 years at 20+ years at South by Southwest, small little music festival, then decided to get into the film side of it. And now it's one of the, if not the largest, one of the largest music and film festivals in the world. And there were people that came from all over the country and all over the world. I mean, it was nothing to see someone from Amsterdam or from Istanbul or from London here taking into absorbing all of the goings-ons, if you will, but also seeing what a very interesting, hip town Austin, Texas was. And I think that went back and distilled down through the psyche of all these different places. And as those people in Formula One made a decision, where in the United States are we going to locate the Grand Prix for the United States of America? And they chose Austin, Texas. Wasn't an accident, I can promise you. Those folks look and truly drill down into where is this going to have a long-term chance of success. And they chose this place, just like those companies that I mentioned earlier chose Texas because they know that freedom to innovate, freedom to keep more of what you work for, is still very much alive. And look, don't just take my word for it. Foreign Direct Investment Magazine, just this in the last 60 days, they ranked all of the states by the foreign direct investment that had come into the United States. Texas was ranked #1. Wall Street Journal, CNBC, all of those business-oriented publications, they rank the states, and Texas has been either #1 or at the top of those lists over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years. We've been the #1 exporting state for the last 10 years in a row. CEO Magazine, men and women like yourself who have to make the bottom line, who have to keep the doors of the business open, who understand what taxes and regulation and legal implications have on your business. You've ranked this state #1 state in the nation to do business for the last 8 years. My goal and instinct is that we'll become the 9th on that list in the very short future. But that's not you can't live on your past, as you well know. Someone will come and pass you up in a hurry. Someone will come with a new technology. Someone will come with a more inventive idea. Someone will shut your doors if you don't stay on the cutting edge. If you're challenged and you're compelled by the competition that occurs and by the entrepreneurs in this country. And states should be no different, and certainly we don't look at it that way, is that we have to, I can promise you, Bobby Jindal over on the east boundary of Texas and Louisiana, he is every day looking for a way to make Louisiana more competitive. Rick Scott over in Florida. Governor Hickenlooper from Colorado was here 2 weeks ago talking about processes that we have in place, policies we have in place, and looking at which ones would work in Colorado to make his state more competitive. That's a powerful blueprint for competition, to make states you want Colorado to come in down here knocking on your door and say, hey man, why don't you come up to Denver? They don't have mountains and snow in Texas, come up here. That's the beauty of these states competing against each other. And frankly, I think it's the beauty of you all competing against each other, because that's what drives the next big thing. Oh, and by the way, as you all know, we don't have a state income tax. Mountains, you can go up and ski for a weekend. State income tax is 365 days out of the year, right? So I think it's important to continue to be competitive. And I want to share this one anecdotal story with you as I wrap up, and that I think kind of tells a story about the success in Texas in a little different way that maybe people don't think about. In 2001, I'd been a governor for a short period of time, maybe 6 months, and we got the call that Boeing, one of the great names in the corporate world, were going to relocate their corporate headquarters out of Seattle, and they had gotten down to Chicago and Dallas-Fort Worth. And we were ecstatic that we would be able to get this giant of a corporate name. When you say Boeing, and it just says so much, whether it was the great B-17s that flew to free the world from the hold of the fascists back in World War II, to the travel they're the great 737s and 47s and 57s and 787s. Getting Boeing to come to your state would have been such a great flag to wave. Well, they chose Chicago. So we came back and we sat down and said, okay, why were we not competitive? What were all the reasons? And it started us going through a process of creating some tools, if you will, to be more competitive. The Enterprise Fund came out of that. We realized we had to look at our tax structure, our regulatory climate, our legal system. We passed a very sweeping tort reform in 2003. Our legislature only meets every other year for 140 days. So in 2003, we put into place some programs and policies that made Texas more competitive. And during that same period of time, we also heard through fairly well-placed sources at Boeing that one of the reasons that they chose Chicago over Dallas-Fort Worth because the spouses of the decision makers felt that the cultural arts would be more expansive, more to their liking in Chicago versus Dallas and Fort Worth area. Now, I'm not going to have that argument with you today, whether that was true or not back in 2001. But here's what I will ask you to consider. A decade later, in 2011, Fort Worth had built a new Museum of Modern Art. The Basses had built one of the finest symphony halls in the world. Dallas is completing now their third facility, 2 performing arts facilities, the Meyerson, the AT&T. The Perot's are just finishing a museum of natural history that's one of the finest in the country. Nasher Sculpture Gardens relocated to Dallas. The American Film Institute moved out of California to Dallas. In this city, little government and university town, new Museum of Modern Art was built in that decade. The Long Center of Performing Arts was constructed. San Antonio's building a performing arts facility. And in Houston, Texas tonight, there are more theater tickets for sale than any other city in America outside of New York City. That's happened in a decade. The cultural arts now a major drawing point. As we go talk to companies, as we go talk to individuals to consider relocating, the cultural arts now is a message that we send to them. It happened, I will suggest, not because government did it. I'm pretty sure that the legislature would never have appropriated money to build the performing arts facilities or the symphony halls or the theaters. They did it because we left the money in the hands of the private sector. And the private sector made the right decisions about whether they were going to have those types of facilities or not. So I know that's anecdotal, but I think it's a powerful story about the dream that people have for their communities. And if you allow people freedom, they'll make the right decisions. They'll choose where to live. And they'll plant their flag. They'll pursue their aspirations. And that's the type of state and that's the type of city that I think we have helped create here in the state of Texas. We learned a long time ago that the best way to help entrepreneurs reach their dreams is to put that type of a system into place and then stand back and let them achieve their dreams and let them have the freedom to fail as well. The best thing that we can do as a government is to get out of the way and let you innovate and to take the chances. And so far, it's been working pretty well. So happy birthday, Google, and thank you all for allowing us to come and to participate today. Godspeed. Thank you.